If you could see yourself in the dark, not through eyes, but through light sensitive enough to detect a single photon, you discover something miraculous. You shine. Every second of every day, your body emits tiny flashes of light, biophotons. So faint they are invisible to the naked eye, yet so constant they form a silent language of illumination. Welcome to another episode of Night Lamp Curiosity. I'm Professor Photon, and you, my dear listener, are quite literally glowing. Stay with me till the end, because by the time we finish, you'll see how every cell in your body is part of a cosmic conversation written not only in chemistry, but in light. The story of the light within us began not in the age of lasers or satellites, but in the quiet persistence of curiosity. In the 1920s, a Russian biologist named Alexander Gurevich made an astonishing observation. He was studying onion roots under the microscope when he noticed that when one growing root was placed near another, the second root began dividing faster, as if it could sense the first without contact. He hypothesized that some form of invisible radiation was being exchanged, a mitogenetic ray. When he filtered out visible light but left ultraviolet frequencies, the effect remained. He had, unknowingly, discovered the first evidence of what we now call biophotons, the faint light emitted by living cells. At the time, his claims were controversial, even ridiculed. The technology to measure such weak emissions didn't exist. But decades later, with the invention of photomultiplier tubes, devices sensitive enough to detect a few photons per second, his intuition was vindicated. In the 1970s, German biophysicist Fritz Albert Popp began measuring ultra-weak photon emissions from plant and animal tissues. He found that all living systems emit light in the range of 200 to 800 nanometers, ultraviolet to visible, at intensities around a few dozen photons per square centimetre per second. That's roughly 1,000 times weaker than what your eyes can see. Yet it's not random. It pulses. It carries information. Popp suggested that this biophotonic light might be a form of cellular communication, a coherent, laser-like signal orchestrating biological processes. Cells, he proposed, don't just talk through molecules, they whisper in light. Imagine that. Inside you, trillions of tiny lanterns are flickering, coordinating, exchanging information faster than chemical messengers ever could. Every heartbeat, every neural impulse, every act of healing may involve light signals travelling cell to cell, fibre to fibre. Your DNA, coiled tightly in each nucleus, is a perfect helical antenna, capable of absorbing and emitting photons. Studies have shown that when DNA is exposed to ultraviolet light, it re-emits that energy in a coherent pattern, like a note played in tune rather than noise. Some researchers suggest that this coherence allows biophotons to carry information, synchronizing activity across tissues and even guiding biochemical reactions. Though this field is still being explored, one thing is clear: living systems glow. From plants performing photosynthesis to humans at rest, the dance of light is universal. In Japan, scientists at Kyoto University used ultra-sensitive cameras to photograph human biophoton emissions. They found that our light output fluctuates in cycles, lowest during sleep, highest in the afternoon, aligning with metabolism. The brightest spots are the face, particularly around the forehead and cheeks where metabolic activity is greatest. And while the total light emitted is minuscule, about 1,000 times weaker than visibility threshold, it is steady, patterned, rhythmic. You glow even now as you breathe. Your skin, your eyes, your cells are gently shimmering with photons born from the same quantum fields that power the stars. Where does this light come from? Inside each cell, metabolism is a controlled fire. Mitochondria, your ancient bacterial symbionts, generate energy by transferring electrons along chains of molecules, releasing photons as a byproduct. These photons can excite other molecules, triggering reactions, repairing DNA, or modulating enzymes. In plants, this same light governs growth. Chlorophyll absorbs sunlight and re-emits photons in precise patterns. In humans, light may act as a regulator of circadian rhythm, hormone release, and cell signaling. When you feel sunlight on your skin, photons enter not just to warm, but to inform. They activate vitamin D synthesis, tune your biological clock, and even influence your mood. You are quite literally designed for light. And yet, there's another layer. A quantum one. Photons are the carriers of the electromagnetic force, the messengers of interaction between charged particles. At the most fundamental level, all communication in nature happens through the exchange of photons. When atoms bond, when nerves fire, when sight occurs, it is light mediating connection. The light within you, then, is not a metaphor. It is physics in motion, the same physics that governs galaxies. Each photon emitted from your cells joins the universal conversation, a tiny echo of the Big Bang still unfolding through living matter. In 2010, a team at the University of Kyoto discovered that stressed cells emit bursts of biophotons, possibly as signals for repair. When tissues were damaged, neighbouring cells began to emit synchronized flashes, a kind of biological Morse code calling for help. Light, it seems, is one of the body's emergency languages. Other experiments found that neurons in the brain can guide photons along microtubules, tiny filament-like structures inside cells. This raises an astonishing possibility, that the brain may use light not only for vision, but for thought itself. Quantum biophysicist Dr. Jack Tuszynski at the University of Alberta has proposed that microtubules could act like optical fibers, channeling biophotons as part of neural communication. The idea is still being studied, but if true, it would mean your thoughts literally shine. Let's step back for a moment. When you gaze at the night sky, each star you see is a photon arriving after thousands or millions of years of travel. A particle of light that left its source long before you were born, touching your retina to complete its journey. But at the same time, photons leave you, heading outward, carrying the signature of your existence. In a sense, the universe and you exchange light endlessly. Every moment, light enters and leaves, connecting you to the cosmos in a flow of shared illumination. As above, so below. The stars emit, you respond. The cycle never ends. There's something deeply human about this. Ancient cultures always spoke of an inner light, prana, ki, spiritus, divine spark. They didn't have photomultipliers, but perhaps they sensed the truth intuitively. That life radiates. What mystics called aura, science now calls ultra-weak photon emission. Different language, same phenomenon. The poetry of biology catching up with the poetry of the soul. The philosopher and physicist David Bohm once described light as the bridge between the visible and invisible, the manifest and the implicate order. He said, "Matter is frozen light." If that's true, then biophotons are living light, light that learned to organize itself, to feel, to think, to love. When you meditate, something remarkable happens. Brainwave patterns slow, breathing deepens, and oxidative metabolism decreases. Studies show that biophoton emissions from the body also reduce, suggesting a more coherent, less chaotic state. It's as if calmness tightens the focus of your inner light. Less scattered, more ordered. In 2014, researchers in Germany observed that people in deep meditative states emitted synchronized biophoton rhythms, faint pulses of light rising and falling together, almost like the collective breath of consciousness itself. It hints that inner stillness may bring biophysical harmony, coherence both electrical and luminous. Light in this view isn't just physics. Its presence. We know that light organizes matter on every scale. It drives the dance of electrons, the chemistry of vision, the growth of plants, the circadian cycles of life. And now we see that it also resides in us, quietly weaving cells into unity. Biophotons might be one of nature's oldest languages, a universal code that every living thing understands. In plants, insects, fish, mammals, the patterns differ, but the principle is the same. Life glows. The next time you stand in sunlight, remember that the photons striking your skin are ancient. Some born in the core of the sun 100,000 years ago, bouncing inside until they finally escaped. They travelled across space to become part of your body's luminous conversation. In return, you send photons back, soft and faint, into the same endless ocean of light. It's humbling, isn't it, to think that you, a bundle of nerves and memories, are also a radiant field, a constellation made of living photons. You are a continuation of starlight that chose to become conscious. And even when you sleep, the light remains, whispering through cells, guiding repair, orchestrating life's renewal. The average human emits about 20 photons per square centimetre per second. That means at this very moment, your body releases roughly 1 million photons every minute, each one a note in the cosmic symphony of existence. If you could slow time and listen, you might hear it. The faint hiss of light becoming life, life becoming awareness, awareness becoming love. And here's a thought to take with you into dreams tonight. What if consciousness itself is the ultimate coherence of light? What if awareness is not produced by the brain, but revealed through the light the brain emits, like a projector shining through patterns to create reality? Physicist Erwin Schrödinger once said, "The total number of minds in the universe is one." Perhaps that one mind glows through all living things, each of us a window of its brilliance. When you close your eyes, the darkness you see isn't truly dark. Your retinas still receive flashes, your brain still glows faintly, your heart still pulses photons into your blood. You are never without light, even in the deepest sleep, because light, in the end, is what you are made of. As you drift now, imagine the body as a soft constellation, every cell a star, every pulse of mitochondria a sunrise. The photons born within you travel outward forever, carrying the memory of your being into the vastness. You came from light, you live in light, and one day you will return to it, not lost, but luminous. Thank you for listening, and good night.